All right, we are back for episode 72. 72 of Digital Divination. Jason, happy holidays. How are you?
Happy holidays. I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. Yeah, just waiting for the winter break essentially at this point.
Yeah, it occurred to me that this episode will probably be the last one before December 25th for those people that do
Oh yeah.
Christmas things. Because we're recording this on Saturday, but it doesn't
Mhm.
come out till Thursday. And I think 2 weeks from Thursdays after the 25th. So um, here's an early happy holidays and things like that.
Indeed.
Do you have plans? Are you gonna do anything?
Not too big of plans. Actually, my sister-in-law is coming up on the 25th.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, and staying for a couple of days. That's
Mhm.
basically it. We'll probably play some
Yeah,
board games and stuff like that.
yes.
What
Yeah,
about you?
we are, well, we're not going anywhere special. Like, tomorrow, we're driving up to Vancouver to help my daughter move. So
Okay.
she's moving from one apartment to another, and then she'll come down on the 17th, so sometime, like, next weekend. Usually, we have a Christmas Eve thing at my sister-in-law's house, which is in Kitsap County, so gotta drive a little bit for that,
Mhm.
and then we'll do Christmas Day at our house, and so my 2 kids, their significant others, and then, kind of our immediate family that's here, like 10 or 12 people, not a huge get together, and,
Yeah.
we'll have dinner, and, usually we do like a traditional kinda dinner thing. My wife said, "You know what? We're gonna just have everybody make homemade pizzas."
Oh.
Um, we make up some dough, and everybody kinda makes up their own thing, and then you slice up a bunch of fixings, you put it on, and one reason why that works is because my youngest daughter is vegan, and so
Mhm.
she's particularly certain things she won't eat that we make,
Mhm.
if it's got any animal products and stuff in it. So where we can make up something and she can put together whatever she wants, it's always a winner.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
make it
Can I make a suggestion?
always.
Amongst your pizza toppings, I think you should, maybe make a pesto drizzle, so you can have a
Yes.
nice red and green Christmas pizza.
Mhm. Oh, awesome. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. Yeah, we usually have pesto because that's one of the things that both her
Oh,
and
yeah.
my wife like quite a bit. So yeah, so that's kind of it. I'm gonna watch football over the holidays. Like, my college team, University of Michigan, made the football playoffs, so they're
Mm.
playing New Year's Eve, so they're one of the top 4 teams, and so that'll be really exciting. If they win, it'll be super exciting, but, yeah, just getting that far is
Yeah, you can always
kinda
hope, right?
yeah, kinda fun to see that. So, but other than that, I'm hoping to get a writing gig in sometime in the next couple weeks. So I'm
Yeah.
a little bird told me that I might be getting something assigned here coming up. So I'm
Oh,
excited about
that's nice. Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah.
So
I'll also want to finish something before December ends so that I can have it off my plate and work
nice.
on some other stuff. I had another entire project idea the other day. And so
No.
I don't know if I'm gonna deep delve into that or not, but,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. In our last episode, we discussed talking about either spells or feats. And
Mhm.
we talked offline. I think we're going to go with spells, which, for me, I don't do a lot of spellcasters, so this is gonna be a little challenging for me, and so my and, we talked about we were saying top 5 things. These are, like, our favorite. We're just
Sure,
saying our
yeah.
favorite things, and so they're not the best, they might not even be the most useful, but
Mhm.
they're things that we like and we can talk a little bit about, so that's kinda, I think, how
Yeah.
we'll, kinda to do these things, so yeah, so we'll do spells this time. And I think I started first last time, so I'm going to let you start off
Alright,
with your
okay.
favorite ones.
Yes, so, like you said, John, I don't play a lot of spellcasters either. I don't really, know what's the most optimal choices and all that kind of thing, but, I did pick some spells that I just, do like in general.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna start real basic here, okay? Because number 5 is the old reliable magic missile.
Yes, yes.
This is also I picked this because everyone loves it and everyone uses it, and it's so ubiquitous that you may, at least in the Pathfinder version of things, you make a weapon that protects you specifically against, I mean, a weapon, a magic item like the brooch of shielding that protects you specifically against a magic missile. But the reason I wanted to sort of talk about it real briefly is because Starfinder's magic missile, you see the real first glimmers what was going to be what is all the multiple action spells that end up in Pathfinder Second Edition, because
Right,
for
right, right.
Starfinder's Magic Missile, if you cast it as a full action, you get an extra missile, and that's cool. And it was like when we first put it in the core rulebook, I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty awesome. People can spellcasters who get in a good position, don't have any other move actions to take, have the spell, can just kind of empower it, get a little extra dedicated damage in there. So like I said, basic, reliable, but an interesting kind of like glimmer of what could how Starfinder and Pathfinder Second Edition aren't too different. Like there's clearly a stepping stone from Pathfinder First Edition Starfinder to Second Edition Pathfinder.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
All right. Well, mine aren't super tight into what's my most favorite, least favorite.
sure.
But kind of roughly in that order. And I'm going to say for my number 5, it's Churn Liquid.
Ooh.
So this is a Witch Warper cantrip, actually,
Hmm.
that allows you to temporarily turn, a certain amount of liquid into something else, as long, it can't be harmful, it can be
Mhm.
mildly acidic and things like that. And the reason why I put this on here is in our actual play, we have Scott Kine playing a Skittermander called Raz, who's a envoy but has some Witch Warper spells. And so this is the one he has. And he uses it a lot to convert whatever liquid's out there to hot cocoa. And it's gotten to be quite a fun thing. So this all kind of started in part because when we were in Devastation Arc, we are at the very beginning, as you're probably aware of this. I don't know if did you develop Devastation Arc?
I did. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so you're on this kind of winter world, right? That
Mhm. Yeah,
everything's
that's right.
really yeah, so everything's really cold and for some reason the weather's gotten really really worse and we're getting all this cold weather gear trying to do stuff. And so Scott has his character Raz going around trying to cheer people up by turning liquid into hot cocoa for everybody. And so subsequently, he's done that a couple times for some
Sure,
other things.
yeah.
Um, Now, he's also done that in some more useful ways earlier when we played it, but that's the thing that really stands out for me. I think this and eh, there's another one I guess I could talk about later, which I think was an honorable mention. It's just kind of a general, useful, fun thing for role play,
Yeah.
and so that's kind of why I picked that
Love
one.
it. That's pretty good. It doesn't surprise me too much that Scott Kime is playing at least a Skittermander. Did you all try to give that hot cocoa to the holographic carolers that appear down in like
No,
Snowdrop
they
Village or
were
whatever it's
really
called?
scary early on. I
Yeah,
think we knew not to.
I
Um,
I do enjoy that part of that adventure at the very
yes,
beginning, where it's
yes,
like Winter Wonderland, and also then it's a, if you're out there and you haven't you don't have any kind of games to play for the winter holidays, the first third-ish, maybe
yeah,
quarter-ish of the first volume of Devastation Arc, Waking the World Sea. There's a great winter adventure.
yes, for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with my number 4, from hot cocoa to something a little more gross. I picked
Gross.
biotic tacklash, and to lesser extent, quote unquote, lesser biotic tacklash. Those are sort of go
Okay.
together. Now, I this is part of this actually is in AP number 20, the and part of the Attack of the Swarm bunch, and there was a Pathfinder spell that I really just sort of got a real kick out of, which is Whip of Spiders.
Mm,
Um,
mhm, mhm,
why would anyone think to do make this, like, it's a whip and also spiders, like it's such a incongruous thing that I also really wanted it in Starfinder.
mhm,
So while we're putting together some of the back matter for number 20, I wanted to make sure that there was a version of that in because it's also bug related and Attack of the Swarm is happening, and this is I think a Hylax article, so or possibly a Sheeran article. those two got a little conflated in my mind. But it's basically that. It's a spell that creates organic insectile nanites into a
Mm,
tacklash, which is basically our Starfinder whip, and you can use it as a weapon better, a little more. You're proficient in it because it's you're spell casting it, and but then when you hit somebody with it too, you can always dismiss the spell, and it causes the nanites, i.e., the spiders, to fall all over the target and basically cause them to possibly be nauseated for a round, like a swarm does when you fail a save against it. I don't know. It's just sort of like a way to a way to show how sometimes these first edition spells get ported over kind of like as is, but sometimes you want to
mm,
give it a real Starfinder flair, and it doesn't sound like Whip of Spiders. It sounds kind of like something, right? It's attack. Well, we don't
yeah,
tacklash, and what's
yeah,
biotic
yeah.
mean? Biotic can kind of mean anything, but hey, it's actually just organic nanites.
Kind of along those lines, one of the things that I find really interesting are all the living weapons that
Oh
are
yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Kind of related to that. So, like, the storm callers, right?
Mm.
Stormcaller ribbon. Basically,
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's a living line weapon, you know, and you
Mm-hmm.
can move the line all over the place. I always thought that was really cool.
That
But
was
the
good.
fact that
Yeah,
it's living, I thought there's just really kind of creepy. When
yeah,
this kind of
indeed.
thing just grows around your arm and you kind of use it, and it can actually take hit point damage and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I always thought that was kind of cool. All right,
the
so my number
biotic.
4. Oh yeah, go ahead.
As I say, the biotic tacklash has the living property,
Right,
right? When you cast it, you got it. So it's
right,
yeah, exactly
right.
that.
That's that.
Sorry.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My number 4. I'm going to go with Hurl Force Disc.
Oh yeah.
Um, and this is, I think it's Mystic. I don't know who else can use a
I
Hurl
think.
Force Disc.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used it on my Mystic, and primarily when I was running my Mystic, I have a couple of them that I play through Society Play. One of the things that I would rely a lot on is Mind Thrust, kind of as a
Mm.
damage dealer.
Hmm. Yeah.
And the issues with that are if something's mindless, like a construct or something, it doesn't do you any good on that.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of a single target kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I like Hurl Force Disc because of a couple things. One is that it's force, so it's a force effect. So if there's
Hmm.
something that is in uh, corporeal, it's something that you can damage that. So I like a lot of force-based things,
Hmm.
and I'm sure we'll talk more about that as we continue with the podcast down the road. I also like the fact that you can ping it off multiple things.
Yeah.
So
It's a
you
good
could,
one.
it does more damage. So 3d6 to the first one, then you can go 2d6, and then eventually gets down to 1d6. So you could hit multiple targets with it, do force damage. And so I always thought, at least for the Mystic, I'm sure it probably is applicable to other classes as well. I don't know if everybody can use it. Um, but for what Force Disc is I think it's a level 2 spell, right? Yeah, level 2.
Oh yeah.
It's I think it's kind of useful for that. So that's
Definitely.
my number 4.
That spell, I'm fairly certain, was inspired by Tron.
Yes.
Yeah. Got to have something that you throw a
Hmm.
disc at somebody, right? It's that
Hmm.
if you ever thrown a disc in a sci-fi game, it's an homage to Tron.
Yes.
For my number 3, I went a little cuckoo and picked Wonder Warp because one of those big spells with a big table that can do kind of anything and possibly hurt you, but why not cast it
Hmm.
just to see
Hmm.
what happens? It does have the D100 table, and it is goes from it's just got everything going on. You like regaining stamina or hit points, or just causing someone to be vulnerable to an energy type, a random energy type, or summon an Aeon, and maybe it fights alongside you, or maybe it's hostile to you, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
just guys crazy. This one's in Galaxy Exploration Manual, I think. Talking a little bit about sort of high magic areas, right? And this would be something that sort of would be great for simulating a sort of wild magic surge somewhere in the
Hmm.
galaxy as well. And it's most likely sort of I believe, sort of based a little bit on sort of like protean stuff, which who can those outsiders from the Maelstrom who just sort of are pure chaos. And that's what the spell
Mm-hmm.
is. It is pure chaos. It is not even only just sort of like you cast it and something weird happens once. It's you cast it and it goes every round. It does something weird and
Oh,
different.
I
Yeah,
didn't know it
it's a one.
lasted multiple rounds.
It's a 1 round per level spell, and it's a 4th level
Oh,
spell. So you've
wow.
got it for you've got it for the rest of the fight once you've cast it, basically.
Right, right,
At
right,
this
right.
point,
Wow. Wow, wow.
yeah.
Very cool. I'm gonna have, and that's Witch Warper, I'm guessing, or
It's got Witch Warper, it's a Mystic and Technomancer, actually.
oh, okay, cool,
Yeah.
nice. So for a couple of mine, actually, maybe the rest of them, these are going to be spells I'm more familiar with
Mhm.
because I was asked to write a bunch of spells for Galactic Magic, and
Mm.
this was something because I didn't do a lot of Magic users. I actually sought out to do some spell stuff. And
Mhm.
originally, I was tasked to do all the barrier spells in Galactic
Okay, yeah.
Magic, and then also some utility spells in Galactic Magic. And afterwards, they asked me again. Somebody else couldn't complete a bunch.
Yeah.
They asked me to write some spells for that were vast related, inspired by the vast. Is what
Mm,
they call
mhm.
it. And so my number 3 is one of the utility spells that I created. And when I was putting together spells, I try to find what are common things that players want to do or might want to do. And if they don't have a technical skill to do that, how can they do it with magic? That kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that's kind of what I was looking for utility spells. So my number 3 is remote pilot. And so this is a level 3 mystic, precog, and technomancer spell that allows you to transfer a sliver of your consciousness into a vehicle, enabling you to take actions to pilot it remotely. What's really cool is that you can pilot it as if you're in there,
Mhm.
and what's the range? I thought it was long range. Oh, it's touch. So you have to touch the vehicle and then it can go off.
And then they go
Um,
fly off, yeah.
but you use mysticism to pilot it instead of the piloting check. So
Right, yeah.
this is something that could allow a technomancer or precog or in particular a mystic to drive something that normally they couldn't do and to be able
Mhm.
to do it remotely. So I thought this was kind of a fun thing. It's something I would like to be able to do remote control. And there's actually a technomancer spell called remote operation, which isn't quite the same. It allows you to control something at
Right.
distance, kind of similar to like a remote hack, but it's just kind of turning it off
Right,
and on
yeah.
and stuff. And so this is a bit higher level and allows you to basically drive whatever vehicle with that. Um, so anyway, that's my kind of number 3.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely pretty, useful. I mean, even if you're not you could stay on the ship or the vehicle, whatever, too, and just sort of like see, sort of like you
Right.
touch it, and then you sit back in the chair, and you're got your mystic fingers going, wiggling them around to control the ship. I'm realizing I picked kind of fire, a wide array of spell levels here. It looks like actually I might have gone through all of them with magic missile being low, but the rest of these are pretty high. Because for my number 4, I chose subjective reality. It's from the core rulebook. It was a high level. I remember we needed a high level mystic spell to sort of balance all the high level technomancer spells that we had in the core rulebook. And this one kind of like came to me, and I thought it was pretty cool. But to do something that is more mystical, right? And then later we added the witch warper to it as well. But basically, it's a spell that you kind of cast it on yourself, but when you cast it on yourself, you pick something, a creature, an object, that you can see, then the spell convinces your brain that you think it is an illusion. So it basically can't affect you. And you can't kind of affect it, but basically it's just sort of like, oh no, I don't, that's a giant dragon. I don't believe it exists. And just sort of really convince your own brain that it can't hurt you, and that sort of affects, as magic does. I just
Wow.
like stuff that has to deal with like belief and thought,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
really really controlling your own mind. I thought that one was pretty. I thought it'd be pretty neat. I don't know if people use it. It's a pretty high level spell, so I don't, probably don't get into it. But yeah,
All right. So this is number 2, right?
Yeah, that was number 2. I may have said number 4 because I think I got it backwards. But yeah,
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 I think it's
whatever.
number 2.
This is
All
number
right.
2.
So my number 2, and again, I'm going to go back to Galactic Magic and some of the spells I put together. And this one actually came a little bit later in the second batch, the second contract they had me do, where they wanted me to do something that was vast inspired.
Mhm.
And when I was doing this, I was really looking for a way to make something that would be more useful, in particular for my mystics, in terms of damage dealing. I mentioned before that I use mind thrust quite a bit, and unfortunately, some things were mindless, and I actually like force as well. So I actually created a spell called Soul Surge, which works for mystics and witch warpers levels 1 through 6. And so the basic description of this is Soul Surge was innovated by Hanukkah mystics, concomitant with the attunement of their soul stone. So if you know that
Yeah,
their
yeah.
soul stone becomes very important to them and kind of the piece of it. Anyway, so one of the things they can do with this is use this, giving up a tiny bit of their soul so they lose hit points equal
Mm.
to the number of damage dice that they roll in their soul surge. So it's kind of a
Cool. Yeah.
sacrifice to do this thing. You attempt a ranged attack against a target's EAC, adding your key ability score modifier to the attack instead of dexterity. So a mystic gets to add your wisdom, which is a way better roll for most
Sure. Yeah.
mystics, right? Does piercing damage with the force descriptor. So again, I got the force descriptor on it. But the biggest thing about this is kind of the amount of damage that it does. So
Mm.
cast as a first level spell, it's 3d8. Second level spell, it's 6d8. Third level spell, 10d8. 14th is 14d8. Fourth level is 14d8. Fifth level is 21d8. And the sixth level spell does 28d8 damage to
Mhm.
hit.
Wow, wow, wow.
So yeah, so for me, I wanted to make what I thought would be a big gun for Mystic or Witch Warper so that they had something that would work against most different types of targets, including incorporeal kind of targets. And so I use this connection here that the Hanukkah had to their soul in order to justify putting that together. So that was my number 2. And I was I was worried that they were going to
Uh,
scale down the damage quite a bit.
yeah.
But it's still it's ended up being pretty high. So
Pretty good.
yeah, and I haven't seen this in the wild very much. I haven't seen a lot of players using this, so I
Yeah.
don't know if they're familiar with it or not, or they don't like this having to make a ranged attack. But if you're using your key ability modifier instead, that should be not not as hard to do as like other
Yeah.
things that make an attack versus a normal ranged attack versus the AC.
Well, that's interesting because it makes my number 1 spell look a little worse.
Uh oh. Uh oh.
Because, I, went mainly from the name alone. I went with Crush Skull.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 5th level spell. It doesn't require you to take any hit point damage to cast it, but it does 18d8 damage, which is
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little less than the 21d8 that you've got, but you get I think
Yes.
the balancing act there is that you take some hit point damage yourself, right? But this one does also require an attack roll against EAC. Same thing as use your spell key ability score modifier, but also the target gets a fortitude save. So you have to
Mhm.
hit them. Now that I'm talking about it, maybe I don't like the spell as much as I thought I did. They hit it, and then if they make the saving throw, they take 4d8 damage instead of half of 18d8, which is obviously way less. So you've got to hit, and you're always gonna if you hit, you're gonna do some damage, right? I think that's in there. Um, it's probably in there because there might be a way for you to say I don't think there's too many ways, but if you succeed at a fortitude save, you take no damage, kind of stuff. If it would have been half, right, like
Right.
the evasion version, but this is if you succeed, you still take 48 damage, no matter what other feats or powers you might have. Um, and then basically, it only works against things that have heads.
Right.
Because of the name itself, but
Skulls
it's
to
just
crush. Yeah.
it's gotta have skulls to crush.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
fun to have this sort of like kind of power, it's
Yeah.
it's a little bit
It's a
of
Jedi kinda thing.
a
Yeah,
Jedi thing.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. We
yeah.
had some of those other ones in there, like psychokinetic strangulation and stuff like this. But
Right,
that is
right,
this
right,
is the more like squeeze your head, more like scanners in a lot of ways, and
right.
boom, head gets crushed. Um, so I made that my number one. Although I can think of some other ones now that I could probably find after
Oh,
hearing
yeah, that's the thing with
yours number two.
spells. There's so many. There's so
Yeah,
many
there's so
out
many.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of, you know well, and we'll talk a little bit about, kinda honorable mentions and stuff as well. So, alright, so my number 1 is another spell I worked on, and so when I was asked by John Compton if I could do some additional spells, I said, "That's great. I have one I'd hoped to put in the first time, but I forgot to do. I didn't have enough room, whatever." Um, so when I was talking with my groups, we're kind of kicking things around, and somebody mentioned, "Oh yeah, all you see here is a wall of text, and
Mhm.
whatever." And I said, "Oh man, I should have put wall of text under barrier
That would have
spells."
been good. Oh my god, I
Yeah,
love that. Yeah.
so so that's what I submitted. I submitted
Oh.
well, I didn't call it wall of text, but something like wall of sigils or something. And
Oh,
so
yeah,
it
yeah.
so it could be something in a horizontal plane that, or a vertical plane. So the idea being that it would be something we kind of looked at and read on a piece of paper in front of you
Mhm.
or on a screen or something, and it would cause confusion when you went through it, right? Too long,
Sure,
didn't
right.
read, can't finish. So that's what I put together. And that's my number 1, but it didn't make it in.
Yeah.
What made it in instead, which I think it's pretty cool. It's kind of took its place, I'll say, is glowing wall, which is
Hmm.
another cantrip for mystics, precog,
Mm.
technomancer, and witch warpers. A barrier of light, colored as you choose, springs into existence. You can form the wall into a vertical or horizontal plane, but each 10-foot square must join another. The light within it, you can decrease it, increase it, you can change it at will. You can only have one at a time. So the thing about this is like you can make a disco floor out of this and change it, the
That's
lights
great.
at
That's
will.
great. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
when I saw what ended up replacing, I thought, I should have thought of this one too. This is great. So,
That's
um,
great.
anyway, so again, I think this is just kind of a fun RP kind of thing to set up to do, and that's kind of why I liked it. And it really got me thinking about when I submit stuff, I always look to see what's changed, and
Mhm.
I'm happy when things aren't changed, and then I'm kind of understanding when things are. Um, I'm still gonna try if I do any more spells. I'm still gonna try to get a wall of text in there. That's my goal in life. Though it might have to be in something else that. Well, John Compton's not. He
No
switched. He
Starfinder anymore.
switched over to
Yeah.
something else. So yeah, maybe I'll get it through next time. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, let me tell you, if I had known wall of text was a thing that existed, I might have borrowed it. If it had been like sometimes, Paizo has a place to put could have cut material
Yeah.
to reuse later, and sometimes people, developers just forget to do that. Maybe there was just too many walls. We don't need it. But I think I would have loved to have taken that and maybe turned it into like wall of terms and conditions.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or wall of
That's great.
legalese or something like that. That
Yes.
would have been good for maybe actually to put into drift hackers because there was
Yeah.
so I was trying to get some extra fun sort of like spells that are not that kind of reflect that sort of computer nature of things. We got a couple in there that I
Right.
think in the last volume that are going to be fun, but there were a couple that just as a little maybe a little preview. There's a spell called render,
Hmm.
which is a
Oh.
fun
Okay.
sort of like basically like an illusion-y kind of spell.
Right. Right.
But it would have been fun to have something like wall of terms and conditions or wall of legalese to be like, "Wow,
Hmm.
look at this," and
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I can't read it," or wall of uh, uh, what's it called when you have to prove you're not a robot? Like
Oh yeah.
wall
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
cap.
Yeah.
We probably couldn't use the word captcha, but you get
Yeah. Yeah.
you get the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, I'm still thinking. Now that you mentioned that, there's got to be a way for me to work this into something I'm writing. So I
sure. Yeah.
might
Figure
just
it out.
save that in my back
If
pocket. So if
yeah,
people see this in the future, that's where it came from. Now they know.
indeed.
So
It's from John.
All right. Well, this is fun, and I think just kind of making 5 things that we like for a variety of reasons now is a good way to do this. Do you have any honorable mentions, though? Honorable
Yeah, I
mention.
have a couple things. I like the name of the spell, Directed Denial of Strength. It's a
Yes.
little
Oh, that's a
wordy,
great spell.
but
Yeah.
that's just a fun name for a spell. I think
Yeah.
that's in Pack Worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably just is basically like Ray of Enfeeblement or something like that, right? But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a good one. I also just sort of I like Digital Doorway, I think it's called,
Hmm.
which is
Yep. I
the one
just
that
was
lets you
looking at
sort
that
of
too.
turn yourself into a computer program and zip
Yeah.
along the you know fiber optic
Mhm.
lines and stuff like that. That kind of stuff is fun. What about you?
Well, one spell that I think is really underrated and is used a lot and useful in a lot of areas, especially in a space-based game, is
Mm.
Life Bubble.
Yeah.
So kind of protection from vacuum and other airborne things and stuff like that. And when we're going places and somebody says, the mystic or now Technomancer just said, I'm gonna life ball everybody, I think this is great. It lasts a day
Yeah.
per level and
Yeah. Yeah.
protects against all kinds of stuff. So that's one, I was thinking that's kind
Andy.
of useful. You mentioned magic missile as well. And I think that that's just kind of a gimme. Now, it in society play, we don't have kind of scaling spells and
Right.
stuff.
Right. It doesn't scale with
Yeah.
level, but it
Yeah.
does early on when you're just like, I'm standing here, throw an extra missile in there.
Mhm, mhm.
It works
But
out
I
good.
think if you could scale up things like in Pathfinder where you can have scaling
Hmm.
cantrips and stuff,
Yeah.
like wow, that would be great. Now there is a boon, a charity boon that allows you to scale cantrips in
It
Starfinder
didn't
Society.
didn't Galactic Magic introduce scaling
Y- r-
cantrips?
Yes, but in society play, that's
Right.
not legal.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so
You need to have a
so
boon
there's
to yeah,
so
but
there's
to use the boon to use that stuff from Galactic
yeah.
Magic, right? As
So
far
at
as you're gonna
this
have to.
so at the Emerald Con that we had a couple of
Oh
weekends
yeah,
ago that you helped contribute to, we raised about $6,800 in large part
great.
due to you and your donations for charity auction items.
Well,
So
I
it
had a
was
lot of
great.
extra books
Yeah,
that were
no,
just
that
kind of
that
sitting
that was
around.
great, and then getting them signed and stuff, and
Yeah,
that because we had matching and it helped a lot. But this boon, there was this boon, I was bidding on it for a while, but when it got up to $180, I decided that I would let whoever was bidding on it have it.
fair
Um,
enough.
you know, but it would basically allow you to have one character with scaling cantrips and stuff. And I thought, oh, that'd
Mm.
be kind of fun, but not that much fun. So even though
Not
it's for a good
a
cause.
yeah,
Yeah.
not a $200
So,
worth of fun.
yeah. So for next time, I was actually thinking about stuff that we could do. We mentioned spells or feats. I'm actually thinking changing gears a little bit. And
Sure.
um and it was just because the sheer number of spells out there that we had and how many you could use. I was thinking actually magic items because of the
Mm.
scarcity around it. You only can have like 2
Yeah.
more magic items at any given time, which I think makes it even kind of more important, to kind of know what you're wearing and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I've worn a lot more magic items than I've had spellcasters. So I thought
Sure.
it'd be useful. So how does that sound? Kind of our favorite worn magic items.
Let's holiday it up a little bit. Let's theme it up a little bit and just say it's
Ooh.
top 5 magic items that you would like to give to your characters as presents.
Oh, yeah, that we would like to gift. So
Yeah,
our favorite things to gift to our character.
gift.
Yeah, that's usually where they
Yeah,
come from because they're the ones that I want my
exactly.
characters to have. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'll have a lot more personal experience, except for one of them, and I'll give a precursor that
Ooh.
this is one of my 5. It's an item I created
Ooh,
that's
there you
been
go.
published because I've
Mhm.
also created a whole bunch of stuff that hasn't been published. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. I won't say that. Um, but this is something I created for one of my players that I thought
Oh, and put
he
mhm.
would love this for his character. So and I'll describe that next time.
That's a gift to somebody else, someone else's
Yes.
character then. So it
Yes.
fits in the theme. It's these are
Yes.
top 5 gifts, magic gifts
That we wanna give. Alright.
that you wanna get. Yeah.
Right. Well, hey, if I don't see you, and I might, if I don't see you before the holiday, have a great holiday
Right?
and New Year.
You too. Well, I mean, well, we'll talk to
We'll
see
talk
when we want
before
to
New
record the
Year
next
for
one.
sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know,
we'll
I know.
talk about that for
But
sure.
maybe not.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
not the 25th though. Never know.
maybe not, maybe not. But and also to all of our listeners and viewers out there,
Yes.
have a good holidays because the next time you see us, it'll be right between Christmas and New Year's, I think, right?
Right. Right.
If we
Right.
put that,
Yeah.
if we pull it out that
Everybody
way, yeah.
be safe. Do lots of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy.
Hope you get all the games you want.
All right. Well, I'm John.
And I'm Jason, and this has been Digital Divination.